Hello, parishioners of St. Margaret. Have you become comfortable while being in quarantine? Sometimes I wonder if we have. But my concern is not really sloth, nor is it gluttony. No, I'm not worried about all the time that we've been spending devouring chunky monkey ice cream in our tight yoga pants or binge watching Netflix. And sure, there's always our temptation that we experience to become frustrated and angry with the fellow prisoners with which we live. Have you become prideful, egotistical while living locked away? At the beginning of this pandemic, we saw the images of people who had, folks fighting over pork chops or toilet paper. These were the images of being concerned with me, myself, and mine. Others are not necessarily seen as friends and neighbors. Instead, we often in pandemic look upon these people as threats to our space. They're dangers. They're talking and coughing and sneezing potential plague carriers that are all around us. But now that we've been in this for a while, things are beginning to change. Now we're about to return to what I call our three-dimensional presence. And now we have to start dealing with all the annoyances and with one another again. We're soon to be called out of our homes, out of our lives, into spaces to assemble once more and to begin to worship as a body of Christ. Now, we might need some encouragement. We might need a little bit of accompaniment to begin on the road to resume our normal place as an incarnational people. Not as a people that are comfortable with the antiseptic and the virtual ritual. So as you probably have heard, Governor Edwards is starting to lift that long-standing stay-at-home order. And Bishop Duca now is giving us all permission to resume our public celebration of the liturgy, all based upon the recommendations that are given us by professionals who know the tricks of the trade. For those who are comfortable then, it's time for us to begin to return back together. For all the eager beavers out there and for everybody that's ready to come back, I want to give you a warning though. It's going to look a little bit different. This time, it's not going to be about us individually. It's about what we need to do together as a community, what we need to do collectively. So what is Mass going to look like when you come back to St. Margaret, which will resume this coming weekend? Well, here goes. First and foremost, I want you to know that the Sunday Mass obligation continues to be dispensed by Bishop Duca for all Catholics in the Diocese of Baton Rouge indefinitely. Those who are especially vulnerable, those who are ill, those who are not feeling well, indeed anybody who's simply not comfortable with coming to Mass is encouraged to do one thing and one thing only: stay home. So please, if you have any symptoms of the coronavirus that you've heard about for months and months now, don't come to Mass. Stay within the confines of your quarantine. It's a responsible way that we can show we're part of a community, our way of going out and helping one another. So on a normal weekend here at St. Margaret, we usually have 4 Masses. And if you've been to our normal weekend Masses, usually they're all pretty full. They're all pretty packed. However, based upon the governor's directive that came out, our church buildings can only have 25% of their normal capacity, their normal occupancy. So picture it this way. If everybody came back to St. Margaret and St. Thomas on the same weekend all at one time, and knowing that everybody's not going to do that necessarily, we're going to need more Masses. In essence, we need about 16 Masses. I don't know about Father Brad, but I don't think we can handle that many all on one weekend. But we do need different opportunities to accommodate you, our beloved parishioners of St. Margaret. So while Father Brad and I are not supermen, I think we've come up with a really good plan on how to address it and how to make Mass most available. So we've decided, at least temporarily, to change our Mass schedule. So starting the weekend of the 16th and 17th of May, we will add several daily Masses and 2 weekend masses to accommodate all of our parishioners. So on Saturdays, we will have not one, but 2 vigil masses. Our normal vigil mass time at 4 p.m. at St. Margaret, and then an additional mass at 6 p.m. on Saturday at St. Margaret. On Sunday, we will have our normal mass at 8 a.m. at St. Thomas, and then our normal mass at 10 a.m. at St. Margaret. But we will also add another mass at 12 noon over at St. Margaret Church. We'll conclude our Sunday also with the 5:30 p.m. mass here at St. Margaret. Our weekdays will change as follows. We will have a daily mass every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m., but also we will add an additional mass every day, Monday through Friday, at 6 p.m. In that way, there will be 16 different opportunities for you to attend Mass at St. Margaret. Father Brad and I will each celebrate roughly 1 daily Mass and 3 weekend Masses per week until we get out of this first phase, this first wave of reintroduction into what normal Mass will be like. But of course, that comes with some quid pro quos. Not everybody's going to be able to attend Mass on the weekend. And not everybody's going to be able to attend the Mass that they usually are accustomed to going to on the weekend. You might actually have to attend a daily Mass instead. Bear in mind this will all be temporary. But what I ask you is to be patient, to be flexible, and consider attending another Mass to give people who need the opportunity to go to the weekend Masses the opportunity to do so. People like our first responders, or people that are still going to work each and every day in the midst of this pandemic. What's important in this whole thing is that we will once again have the opportunity to worship together, and we'll be able to once again participate and receive the Eucharist. So we're going to ask right now that you only consider attending 1 Mass per person per week. Also, with that new liturgical schedule, we're going to designate the 6 p.m. Saturday Mass as the Mass for our not-so-young adults. Not so young adults who are healthy. So if you're feeling well, and if you're over 60, we'd like you to consider attending that Mass as a good and possible option for you. Now, how are we going to plan accordingly, since we can only have 25% of our congregation in the building at a given time? This might be a little bit strange, but what we're going to ask you to do is to sign up for Mass. St. Margaret herself will only be able to accommodate about 70 persons per Mass during this phase of reopening. St. Thomas, on the other hand, will only be able to accommodate about 50 persons. So we're going to be using an online platform called Sign Up Genius, which is going to help us to organize attendance. So here's how it works. A link will be available on our website, the St. Margaret website, every single week, usually on Thursday. Click that particular link and it'll take you to our sign-up page. Once you find the particular Mass that you and your family would like to attend, click on it and sign up you and every single member of your family individually. And that's it. Then you simply have to plan to come. Now, if we've reached capacity for that particular Mass, it'll show up as being full. And if you have trouble signing up, or you're not necessarily technologically savvy, maybe you don't even have internet access, but you hear about this by word of mouth, call us at the parish office. Talk to one of our staff members who will be able to help you. Our phone number is 225-567-3573, or you can always email us at stmargaret@diobr.org. Also remember that when you actually come into the church and onto the grounds of St. Margaret, physical distancing will be the new social norm. Remember to always stay at least 6 feet apart from all other people in the congregation except for those that you live with, because we want to prevent any opportunity for future infections or spike in this viral outbreak. Physical distancing should be practiced in our church and on our grounds at all times. There are also 3 things that you should bring to Mass with you every single weekend. You need to bring your mask. You need to bring hand sanitizer for your personal use. And you need to bring your envelopes, of course, filled with your collections. We're going to ask that you get to Mass between 45 minutes and 25 minutes before it starts. At St. Margaret, you'll only be able to enter through the rear entrance of the church, the new entrance since our construction concluded. Use the ramp with the handrails in order to be able to gain access. At St. Thomas, you'll only be able to enter through the main front entrance. Please wear your mask at all times. So when you arrive, we're going to ask you to do a very small screening. First, we're going to make sure that you've come to the Mass that you've actually signed up for. And if you didn't sign up, unfortunately, we may not be able to accommodate you. We're going to ask you to have your temperature taken using a touchless thermometer by one of our staff or volunteers. If you have a fever greater than 100.4, you'll be asked to not enter the church and worship with us at that time. We'll also have some temporary sinks placed near these entryways of the church. We will ask you to vigorously wash your hands. I don't know, maybe you could pray the Our Father while you're doing so slowly, and that should be good enough as a wash before entering the church. Then use a little squirt of sanitizer too. All of these things are an effort to help keep all of us safe. A staff member or volunteer will then usher you or escort you to your seat in the church. They're actually going to escort you and tell you where you're going to be seated at with your family in our church buildings. Now bear in mind, it might not be the places that you're accustomed to usually sitting. It might be in the back, though you'd prefer to be seated in the front. It might be on a side of the church that you're not accustomed to. We're also going to be skipping every other pew so that we can observe social distancing. It's going to be different. But remember, there's a value. We'll be attending Mass once again as a community of believers. So I'm going to ask your specific cooperation in this regard. Also, the choir lofts, where people oftentimes sit, will actually be closed off, and only our accompanists and our cantors will be able to access it. Again, why are we doing this? Well, it's to keep everyone safe. Now, many of the bishop's directives that were in place when we last concluded our Eucharistic liturgies, they will still be in place. For example, you'll not be able to receive communion from the cup. We're also going to ask you not to shake hands or touch people physically during the Our Father or the sign of peace. Our holy water fonts will remain drained. We'll have fewer bulletins if we actually print them at all in order to give out. You might even look for the hymnals in the church, and when you dig under the pews, you're not going to be able to find them. Again, all of these things will help keep all of us very safe. Now, between Masses, we'll do our part to keep St. Margaret and St. Thomas clean by wiping down and cleaning up our churches as best as we are able to, all in an effort to keep everyone safe and virus-free. Now, during our opening and closing processions at Mass, you'll see the priests and the deacons wear masks themselves to protect you and to protect us. We'll actually distance ourselves away from everyone while in the sanctuary, and so at that time you'll see us not wearing our masks during the public celebration of Mass, but we're going to ask you to keep yours on. Especially for the distribution of communion, we'll put our masks back on as well. Our staff and volunteers will then invite you to come forward to receive communion, still using those same physical distance norms in order to be able to receive the body of Christ. You're asked to receive communion in your hands only, and to keep your mask on even when approaching the priest in order to receive. We'll gently place the host in your hands, and we're going to continue to discourage communion on the tongue at this time. After you receive the host, we'll ask you to move a safe distance away from the priest, pull your mask down, and consume the Blessed Sacrament. Please do not come forward to receive communion wearing gloves. Now, I also know what you might be thinking, But what about the collection, Father? Well, baskets will be available when you enter both of our churches for all of our first and second and special collections. St. Mark is generous, and we want to thank you, our parishioners, for all your generosity both now and I know continuing on in the future. Now, since not everyone will attend Mass at this time on Sunday or on weekdays, remember, baskets will be available at all Masses, but you can always drop your collection if you can't attend over in the lockbox outside of the Hall of Saints, or you can even use our online system by clicking the Give button on the St. Margaret Queen of Scotland website. Now, I know we're a congregation that likes to visit, but after Mass has concluded, I'm going to ask that you please not congregate in the church. You'll be able to exit through any of the access points of either St. Margaret or St. Thomas. Now, if you want to visit a little bit outside, please feel free to. Just remember to observe proper physical distancing and wear your mask at all times. And though I might want to hug and kiss you, no hugs and kisses right now. We'll have to wait for maybe a couple of weeks or months until this viral scare is actually over. There are some other sacramental things that I'd like you to consider. We will be resuming Eucharistic adoration on Wednesdays from after the 7 a.m. Mass until 5 p.m., immediately before the 6 p.m. Mass is to start. So please do not come into the church for adoration until after everyone has left the church at 7:30 or 7:45 on a Wednesday morning. While in private prayer, while in Eucharistic adoration, I ask that you always observe physical distancing. Now, during this first phase of reopening, Bishop Duca continues to prohibit funeral or wedding masses from being celebrated. So thus, as was previously directed way back in March, funerals will be celebrated only with immediate family present and done at graveside. Who is immediate family? People like parents and spouses, siblings, children, grandparents, etc. Clergy and funeral staff will be present at the graveside in the funeral home according to the pastoral and practical need. Weddings have been celebrated and will continue to be celebrated, but in much smaller form. Only brides, grooms, the celebrant, their witnesses, and some immediate family will be allowed to be present. Now, usually we have reconciliation scheduled on Saturdays from 3 until 3:30. For now, though, we will schedule reconciliation on Thursdays from 4 p.m. until 5 p.m. We ask all penitents gather in the main church, always observing proper physical distancing. The gathering room, where you enter through the back access of St. Margaret Church, will be used as the reconciliation room. The priest will come out into the main body of the church and ask you to come back with him for your reception of the sacrament. Always, though, if you prefer not to come at a scheduled time, you can call me or Father Brad, and we'll be happy to arrange a time at which you can come and participate in your own individual reconciliation. Now, Father Brad and I are also still continuing to offer the anointing of the sick to those who might need it. We especially offer viaticum to those people who are near death. Yet, don't be surprised if you see the priest that's visiting wearing a mask, or maybe even wearing gloves. Also, we may encounter situations where there are prohibitions in the different healthcare institutions around us that prevent us from being able to actually enter the building and praying with your loved one while in person. As directed by Bishop Duca also, we are not continuing the practice of giving communion to the homebound just yet, but as soon as we were able, we will go back and visit all of our homebound parishioners. For baptisms, also for now, remember that baptisms will not be celebrated in the context of Mass. We will continue to limit them to very private, small family celebrations. So if you need your child baptized, call us. Call Carol over at the parish office, and we'll be able to make those arrangements. Also, lots of rescheduling has to happen for us. We need to reschedule, for example, welcoming our RCIA candidates, First Reconciliation, First Eucharist, Confirmation, and all these are just the sacramental celebrations. Our staff will be communicating with various groups, with various parishioners, to let you know what the game plan is soon and very soon. Also, during this phase of reopening, at least for now, the St. Margaret Parish Office will remain closed, though our staff will continue to work during our normal business hours. I ask that you please conduct any parish business that you have, as you've done for the past 2 months, either by phone or by email or by snail mail. But never hesitate to reach out to any of us, especially me or Father Brad, if you need anything. Also, during this phase, all ministerial gatherings are canceled, and we'll slowly see the parish once more sort of come back to life, although it's going to be in a very different and measured way to start. Okay, so if you've survived this very long announcement, I think you'll survive our new temporary versions of what Mass is going to look like. Opening might seem like it's a lot more difficult than actually closing the church down. And you're right. But the good news is St. Margaret and our Chapel of St. Thomas, we will again be open this week. So put down that ice cream. Change from those dirty pajama pants. And be patient. And welcome home. I know I speak for Father Brad, for our deacons, and for our staff when we say we simply can't wait to see you later on this week.